In today's video, I want to show you how much home you can afford. If you already have a home, let's see if you're living within your means. If you're looking to buy a home right now, make sure that you don't buy more than you can afford. Just because a bank or lender will allow you to borrow more money, it doesn't mean that you should. Now, let me give you the numbers. If your household income is $30,000 a year, you can afford a home that's priced at $92,000. Now, I'll give you my opinion. You could buy a very nice home for $92,000 in the United States of America in most cities and metropolitan areas 50 years ago. Today, it's just not practical. Let's be real. Now, let's move up in income. Let's see what $50,000 a year of household income gets us. But first, I want to show you the calculations. So here are the assumptions that are being used. In terms of the loan term, we're using 30 years. So we're using a 30-year fixed mortgage, okay? Property tax, we're using 1.25% of the home value. I know this can vary greatly by state or where you're based out of. It could be 0.5% to 2%. But we're going to be using somewhere in the middle, 1.25%. Homeowners insurance, again, this can vary greatly as well. But we're using 0.7% of the home value. And down payment, this is very important, we're using 10%. Now, I want to tell you this. If you already have a home, see if you're living within your means. So I'm going to tell you how much of your pre-tax income that you should be spending on your housing each month. So this is your maximum budget pre-tax. And let me know if you're within budget or over budgets. And I'll drill into the math behind this in a minute. If your household income is $50,000 a year, then here's how much home you can afford. So $50,000 household income, your pre-tax income is $1,167 a month. Again, before taxes. So here's what you can afford with a 7% interest rate. It's $153,296. A 5% interest rate is $180,751. With a 3% interest rate, $215,336. So take a look for yourself. The interest rates will significantly affect how much home that you can afford. If you compare a 3% interest rate to a 7% interest rate, you can buy a home that is 40% more expensive and still have the same mortgage payments. So that's how much of a difference the interest rate makes. Now let's move the household income up to $70,000 a year. But before we do that, I want to tell you this very important detail. To calculate what's within your budgets, we're using the most famous rule. So this is the most popular one, the 28% rule. So you see how much money that you're making a month before taxes. And you should not be spending more than 28% of that on your mortgage payments, property taxes, and insurance. But the banks will allow you to borrow more than this. But just because you can doesn't mean that you should. So the banks or lenders, they don't care if you can't make your mortgage payments because they're just going to foreclose on you and they're going to take your home. The banks and lenders, they don't care if you're going to be financially stressed out and you don't have money left over to save for retirements or enjoy life. They just want to maximize their profit coming out of you. So I just want to make sure with this video that you don't overstretch your budget. So if your household income is $70,000 a year, then here's how much home that you can afford. Your pre-tax income will be $1,633 a month. So with that, with the 7% interest rates, you can afford a home that's $214,509. With the 5% interest rates, $252,928. With the 3% interest rates, $301,323. Now, if you want to check my math on how this is being calculated, then here you go. So here are the assumptions, and here are the calculations for property taxes, insurance, and the mortgage, which is principal and interest. Okay, so here's the full equation. This is basic algebra. Most 8th graders are supposed to be able to figure this out. If you're uninterested in checking it, I don't blame you. If you have an 8th grader handy, then have them check it for you. But you're gonna see that the math checks out. Okay, now I have to show you this. This is just shocking. At least it was to me. Now here's how much home you can afford if your household income is $80,000 a year. As of 2024, when I'm making this video, $80,000 a year is slightly higher than the average household income in the United States of America. And what I'm about to show you was just shocking. Again, that's just my opinion. So here's how much home the average American household can afford. So you have $80,000 of household income. That means your pre-tax income is $1,867 a month. And here's what that gets you. With a 7% interest rate, that'll get you a home, what you can afford, of $245,247. With a 5% interest rate, $289,171. And with a 3% interest rate, $344,501. As of the making of this video, the going mortgage interest rate right now is 7%. So the average American household can afford a home priced at $245,247. So I'm going to show you the math. If you make $80,000 a year, that's $6,667 a month before taxes. Using the 28% rule, 28% of $6,667 a month is $1,867 a month. So that's your budget. $1,867 a month for your mortgage payments, property taxes, and homeowner's insurance. And here it is on a mortgage calculator. So this might be easier for you to follow. This is coming from bank rates. So you're working with a $245,000 home. You're putting a down payment of 10%, and we're using a 30-year fixed mortgage with a 7% interest rate. So that comes out to a mortgage payment of $1,468 a month, property taxes $255 a month, insurance $143 a month. So that comes out to $1,866 a month, which is 28% of your pre-tax income if you're making $80,000 a year. So listen, I have just shown you how terrible the situation is right now for the average American household, especially if you're looking to buy a home. You have to remember that $80,000 a year of household income is slightly more than the average. And with this income, you can afford a home for $245,247. But the average home in the United States of America is selling for about $400,000 a year. So in my opinion, that is clearly not good. And that's why we have a home affordability crisis right now. So that's the situation, but let's move on. If your household income is $100,000 a year, then here's what you can afford. $100,000 of household income, pre-tax income, equates to $2,333 a month. So here's what that gets you. With a 7% interest rate, you can get a home for $306,461. With the 5% interest rate, $361,347. With a 3% interest rate, $430,488. So listen, I told you that this was shocking because with a 7% interest rates, even with a $100,000 household income, a new home buyer still cannot afford the average home in America. Now, let's take a look at a household that makes $125,000 a year. So your pre-tax income is $2,917 a month. And here's what you can afford. With a 7% interest rate, $383,174. 5% interest rate, $451,800. With a 3% interest rate, $538,248. So I just want to point out that with an interest rate of 7%, a new home buyer still could not afford the average home with $125,000 of household income. That's incredible. So let's move on up to a household that makes $150,000 a year. So $150,000 of household income, your pre-tax income is $3,500 a month. So here's what you can afford. With a 7% interest rate, $459,757. With the 5% interest rate, $542,098. With a 3% interest rate, $645,824. Okay, let's keep on moving up. Here's what $200,000 of household income gets you. So $200,000 of household income, your pre-tax income is $4,667 a month. You can afford, with a 7% interest rate, a home for $613,053. With the 5% interest rate, $722,849. With the 3% interest rate, $861,160. Now, I'm going to show you 3 more income levels. I'm not going to read them out in the interest of time. Please take a look if you want. So this is what $250,000 of household income will get you with pre-tax income of $5,833 a month. $300,000 of household income, your pre-tax income is $7,000 a month, and this is what you can afford. $400,000 of household income, your pre-tax income is $9,333 a month, and this is what you can afford. Okay, so just for fun, I'm gonna show you what $500,000 and $1 million of income gets you, how much home you can afford at the end. But listen, I wanna emphasize this because I don't want to see you get in financial trouble. Lenders will determine how much you can borrow from them based on your gross income, other debt obligations, and your credit score. But just because a lender is willing to lend you more money doesn't mean that you should borrow up to the maximum amounts. So when you're budgeting, make sure you take into consideration all your expenses, the property taxes, insurance, assessments, utilities, landscaping, maintenance, repairs, etc. Now, I want to give you tips on how to lower your monthly mortgage payments. I want to help you out, so please be aware of these tricks that you can use. My first recommendation is that you increase your credit score as quickly as possible before you get your mortgage or refinance. If you have a higher credit score, then they will give you a lower interest rate, and that's going to save you a lot of money on every monthly payment. So I've made 2 credit score videos for you. One video teaches you how to boost your credit score as quickly as possible in a short period of time. What's going to give you your best bang for your buck. And my second video teaches you how to get a perfect credit score. Please check out those videos to improve your credit score. I'm just trying to help you out. I'm going to leave a link for you down below. My next tip for you is to please eliminate your private mortgage insurance, your PMI. So please get rid of your PMI as quickly as possible. There are very few things in life that I hate. PMI is one of them. PMI is like robbery, that's why. So if you don't put a down payment of 20% or more on your home, you're probably paying for private mortgage insurance. This is also known as PMI. You pay this extra fee each month because it gives protection to the lender in case that you default on your loan. So essentially, if you don't make a 20% down payment, then you need to pay extra every month because you are classified as an untrustworthy or unreliable person. I think that's stupid. So if you can, please get this removed as quickly as possible. Okay, so you can get rid of PMI in a variety of ways. I'm going to show you 2 ways of how this typically gets done. So option number 1 is that you make your mortgage payments, and after a while, your loan balance comes down, right? And you will build up equity in your home. Once your mortgage balance falls to a certain amount, 22% equity, your lender must automatically cancel your PMI. But you have another option. Option number 2, you can ask your lender to remove the PMI. So you can make this request when you reach 20% equity in your home. And you can get to 20% more quickly by making additional payments on your mortgage. My next tip for you is please do this. Please shop around for lower homeowners insurance. Look for a better insurance rate. So you've probably noticed how out of control these insurance prices have been getting over the past few years. So this is an easy way to lower your overall monthly payments. Also, don't forget to ask your insurance provider about discounts. That's very important. You can save money based on features of your home. So this includes if you have fire alarms, if you have a security system, employer discounts, bundling, car insurance, or other policies. And please review your coverage to make sure that you're not overpaying for something that you don't need. And also see what the price difference would be if you raise your deductible. Another tip that I want to tell you, it's straightforward, but I still want to say it, is to make a larger down payment. If you put down more money, then you're going to have to borrow less money, right? And this is going to lower your monthly mortgage payments. But I understand the concern. You don't want to put down every penny that you have on the down payments because you want to have some money on hand just in case for an emergency fund or something happens, something else. But if you really have nothing better to do with any spare cash, then this is always an option to lower your monthly payments. And my last tip for you is to refinance with a lower interest rate. And this one's so important because I know that this is going to be applicable to millions of people in the years ahead. So if interest rates drop enough, to meaningfully decrease your monthly payments, then you need to be aware of this. If you have a 7% mortgage interest rate, then when interest rates fall to, let's just say 4%, you can get your mortgage interest rate exchanged from 7% to 4%. If you lower your interest rate, then you're going to lower your monthly payments. Okay, now just for fun, let's see what a $500,000 household income gets you. So your pre-tax income is going to be $11,667 a month. So here's what you can afford. With a 7% interest rate, that's going to be $1,532,566. With a 5% interest rate, you can get a home for $1,807,046. With a 3% interest rate, $2,152,807. Let's move up to $750,000 of household income. So your pre-tax income is going to be $17,500 a month. And here's what you can afford. With a 7% interest rate, you can afford a home that's valued at $2,298,783. With a 5% interest rate, $2,710,491. And with a 3% interest rate, $3,229,118. And finally, here's how much home that you can afford with $1 million of income. So $1 million of household income, your pre-tax income budgets of $23,333 a month. So here's what you can afford with that. With a 7% interest rate, a home for slightly above $3 million. With a 5% interest rate, a home for about $3.6 million. And with a 3% interest rate, a home for $4.3 million. Please subscribe, please check out the links, and I wish you a very nice day. Take care.